Takateho ki te uru, whakatakateho ki te tonga. Kia makina kina ki uta, kia matara tara ki tai. Ehi ake ana te atakura, he tio, he hoka, he hohu, ti he Māori ora. I want to remain standing just to pay tribute to one of Otautahi Christchurch's great people who has left us, and actually to someone whose greatness extends beyond our city's boundaries. Sir Miles Warren was one of New Zealand's most influential architects, designing a series of striking and innovative buildings over many decades from the 1950s, including the Christchurch Town Hall. Part of his legacy to New Zealand was the gifting of his Hine Tahi homestead and gardens. He transformed and restored the homestead at the head of Littleton Harbour over many decades, and it is a great legacy that he leaves us. Sir Miles Warren was born in Christchurch in 1929 and started working at the office of architect Cecil Wood when he was 16. After returning to New Zealand and establishing his design practice, his first major project was the Dorset Street Flats in Christchurch in 1956, and a lot of us remember those well. His practice went on to design a series of high-profile buildings in the city. Major projects in Christchurch included College House, Hereford Crematorium, the practice office in Cambridge Terrace, which is an amazing place as well, Canterbury Students' Union, and the Christchurch Town Hall. I just wanted to make a personal reflection as well. I think there have been many special moments in my time as the Mayor of Christchurch over a period of 9 years, but one that will always stand out for me is the reopening of the Christchurch Town Hall and being surrounded by Sir Miles himself, but also having two of Morris Marnie's grandchildren with me, and then a special surprise, having acoustics maestro Sir Harold Marshall join as well. And I remember as a child, 12 years old, standing in the street, the queue slowly wending its way towards the town hall, and then all of us walking through it and seeing the town hall for the first time. And that sense of wonder and awe that I felt as a 12-year-old, I felt again at the opening, at the reopening, and I felt that we had regifted to Sir Miles what he had gifted to our city. It was a special, special moment. Sir Miles died at the age of 93 late on Tuesday evening, and our thoughts are with his family and very close friends. So I'd invite you all to stand and observe a minute's silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have apologies from Councillor Anne Galloway, and apologies from Councillor Chu for partial absence, potentially early departure. Have an apology for lateness from Councillor McDonald, and I have Melanie Coker and Celeste Donovan, is it?
No, just Celeste's here now.
Celeste is a brain. You were online before. And I have Councillor Melanie Coker, who is still not well, online. So thank you for joining us by audio-visual. Sorry? Happy to move. Pauline, seconded by Mike Davidson. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. There are no declarations of interest apart from mine and PX item 23. And I'll move on to the public forum. And the first is Extinction Rebellion Ototahi, Michael Apathy and Sarah Campbell. Lorraine, welcome.
Morena. Ko Sarah Tene. I'm speaking on behalf of Extinction Rebellion Ototahi, and this is Michael Apathy. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres described the latest IPCC report as a code red for humanity. He said, "The alarm bells are deafening and the evidence is irrefutable. Greenhouse gas emissions from fossil fuel burning and deforestation are choking our planet and putting billions of people at risk." This is really serious. We really need to be taking this on board. We are literally choking the planet. We are depleting the earth of the oxygen that it needs to survive, that almost every living creature needs to survive. Coastal and ocean dead zones are caused by a combination of warming oceans and pollution, mainly from synthetic agricultural fertilizers. These dead zones are increasing at an alarming rate, and so is the ocean's ability to produce oxygen. Scientists estimate that 50 to 80% of our Earth's oxygen is produced by the ocean. Without climate mitigation, we simply cannot adapt our way out of this. I used to think that the top environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change, but I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. To deal with those issues, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. And we scientists do not know how to do that. Guy Speth, a scientist. Sometimes I think ignorance would be bliss. My friends and I would have so much more free time. We'd have more time for our paid work. We'd have more time for our loved ones. It's exhausting. Ocean eutrophication, ocean acidification, climate tipping points, wet bulb temperatures, and all the elements of climate breakdown that scientists have warned us about. It's really exhausting knowing this stuff and trying to get others to listen and care. How do we get all of you to understand and advocate for this cultural transformation that we need? Because I don't believe that many of you here are getting it. If you did, if you understood, if you got it, you would understand how urgently we need to prioritise mitigation and adaptation. There is no way you would have advocated for spending ratepayers' money on an inequitable project like an extravagant and overpriced stadium. Please make better decisions. Currently, our council-owned airport is investing public money in plans to build a new international airport in Taurus. Money spent on land purchase to the many hours of staff time invested in preparing and pitching their case, mainly in private meetings. The people of Taurus have asked for 500 days for a public meeting, and it has not happened. They've put in information requests that are 500 days outstanding. It's just not fair. A new airport is completely at odds with what a low carbon future needs to look like. There are many decisions that need to be made. What does a zero carbon future look like? How will we travel in a low carbon society? And what infrastructure will we need to facilitate this? How will we make our transition fair and equitable? These are questions that you need to be answering. Currently, frequent flyers are driving up demand. An equitable low carbon solution might be to reduce demand by restricting frequent flying. We need central, regional and local governments to be working collaboratively on a solution, and we need them to be working with experts. What we don't need is competing airports to be dictating what our future infrastructure looks like. We can't afford to get this wrong. We need you to advocate for the collaboration needed and to stop our airport company continuing with this project. As greenwashing is the new climate denial and delaying action, I ask you to call it out when you see it.
Thank you.
Well over 99% of Christchurch Airport's emissions are from the flights they enable.
Thank you. We've come to the end of your presentation time, so do you want to just quickly sum up your last point?
Sure. I'm just saying there is no such thing as a sustainable airport. Currently, CCC has a target for their companies to achieve net zero by 2030. We ask that you include the emissions that these companies enable.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you. The next are the deputations by appointment, and we have Amanda Neal and Jan Burney speaking to item 11, Brooklyn's petition.
Kia ora tātou. My name is Mandy Neal. Thank you for acknowledging our petition today. Let me begin with a story in the immortal words of Charles Dickens. A tale of two cities. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. Here we are on the outskirts of our city in the best of times. The soft light of dusk sheds a rainbow of light over the magnificent Brooklands Lagoon. Here we breathe in the clearest air available in any city. We walk and cycle the tracks along the shore. We watch the birds gathering to rest in their sanctuary. We hear them call to each other in the twilight, and soon everything becomes quiet and still. The sun sets over the lagoon waters, and we marvel at the sheer delight in being there, to feel the gentle breeze, to find peace in our busy lives, and to see the wonders of nature at its best. Plants, both large and small, have taken root along the sand dunes. We know that rare plants and rare birds call this place home too. We have a deep love and regard for it all. This splendid asset in Otataki, Christchurch, needs your aroha too, and your protection. It is a treasure for us all, and all must have the opportunity to enjoy and value its unique diversity. This is a place of particular beauty which must now become diligently safeguarded for the benefit of all. For this is also the worst of times for our city. Along its northern boundary runs one of Canterbury's biggest rivers, named the Waimakariri, which means cold, bad-tempered water. Heavy rain in the city, coinciding with stormy weather in the mountains, accompanied by the full force of the Pacific Ocean pushing inland with a king tide, creates a severe risk to this environment. Evidence of the ancient pathways of the Waimakariri River still run across our city, and the Brooklands Lagoon forms a 3-kilometre wide, undefended gateway for these cold, bad-tempered waters. Brooklands and Spencerville residents have already experienced the scary taste of this water flowing into their streets and properties several times in recent years. Our reported facts and witnesses' evidence during such events are reliable. Have a look at the width of the Waimakariri outlet to the sea in this artist's impression. No wonder Christchurch people are lulled into a false sense of security. These 2020 information boards at Spencerville depict the Waimakariri outlet being as wide as the river behind it. This is not true. The mouth is really only about half that width. Our petition beseeches you to demonstrate the age of wisdom among us by ensuring accurate information and protecting this very precious resource, including the protection of our people who make up the small communities. We love living here, and we want to share this great goodness with our citizens, all of you, and as an asset for tourists and visitors to our city. You have made a tremendous commitment by investing in Crown purchase of the land. Why ever would you not keep it safe and accessible for all? Our plea to you is to protect this site for future generations and for the sustainable use and enjoyment of the people of our city today. On behalf of our city at risk, we plead for the completion of the primary and secondary stop bank system on the Waimakariri River, from Stewart's Gully, around the Brooklands Lagoon to Spencer Park Beach. Our petition has the support here today of the Spencerville Residents Association, the Brooklands Consultation Group, ECAN people, and 98.5% of our whole community. Over to you, Jen.
Thank you. The Ministry of Environment classification of the Brooklands Lagoon is an estuarine environment subject to both marine, tide wave, influx of saline water, and as a receiving environment for sedimentation. It is a riverine influences, e.g. the Waimakariri River, the Lower Styx River, and the coastal environment. It is clear our area and its communities, people's assets and environment needs an integrated planning and regulatory undertaking to manage the interconnected tidal water bodies of the Brooklands Lagoon, the Lower Styx River, the Waimakariri River, the coastal environment. There is a requirement for authorities responsible to work together in unison rather than as separate bodies for both intermediate and long-term futures to protect and enhance the biodiversity of the area along with the consultation of those directly affected, the residents and the small communities of the area. We appeal to you to address the earthquake damage, the sea level rise, the climate change and the unsustainable catchment activities to ensure both short and long-term sustainable outcomes for all. The biodiversity of this area is unique and magnificent. We need to protect and enhance the environments, its people, assets and all living species. We need to do this urgently and collaboratively. Please end the uncertainty for our small communities, consult with the people, and respect all of the elements that can comprise this community within our city.
Our concern is now about saving your communities too. There's a much bigger picture to consider here. Our people are already experiencing the realities of climate change. This is exacerbated and events are becoming more frequent since our severe earthquake damage, which has still not been fairly dealt with. This abandonment has deeply affected our people's core values of well-being, socially, culturally, economically and environmentally. Visiting door to door throughout over half the homes in Brooklands and Spencerville, I became painfully aware of so many sad stories endured by so many residents for so long. Trust in authorities has been all but destroyed in our suburb, along with the promises of help which never eventuated after the earthquakes. CCC must act worthily in their positions to regain people's trust. Please come and have a look around for yourselves during flooding. Park your cars in a dry spot, put on your gumboots, walk around a bit, watch out for water flowing over your gumboots. Smell the stagnant water that has been allowed to accumulate for up to as much as 17 months. See the new plantings submerged and washed away. Feel the desolation of neglect. People's homes are inundated, and this is underreported. Hardly anyone believes anymore that any help will come. They're worried and anxious every time the rain starts, and all the more so when it continues all day and all night. They watch the red alert dates for king tides on their calendars. They are desperately concerned for their family's safety and their homes, which are under constant threat of damage and further devaluation. They lose far too much sleep, which can severely and sadly affect their mental health. These people deserve encouragement and admiration, for they continue to illustrate bravely the intrinsic nature of small communities supporting one another, on which our nation was founded. Three Waters is planning to allocate millions of dollars throughout New Zealand, specifically for stock bank protection. Spend the money, finish the stock bank, and save our fabulous small settlements, and probably our city too. Having an incomplete stock bank is like locking the front door before going away, but leaving the back door wide open. Every wonderful thing you are achieving and working to achieve in Otautahi, Christchurch, will only become a heartbreaking waste of effort, time and money, with the Waimakariri and coastal waters given free rein. Please draw a line in the sand dunes, the natural line that is easy to follow, and finish the stock bank. If we continue trying to live in denial, we will end up trying to live in Dewaimak. Please don't let the worst of times win the day. Let this be for our city the age of wisdom, not the age of foolishness. This tale of two cities is no fairy tale, but we all want to live happily ever after. Mairangi kia papa, the land, the people, the spirit that binds. Thank you for accepting our petition. Please act on it today.
All right, look, thank you very much, and you've timed that perfectly to the actual, very point, so thank you for that. We have this item on the agenda today, and, I agreed to have this on the agenda today, even though it's going through a process through the community board, but we will be supporting the community board's intention to bring a report to the council once a relatively in-depth report involving ECAN obviously as well is in a position to be brought to the council. So thank you very much for your passion, your commitment, and thank you for everything this morning. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next deputation is for the Hornby Community Care Centre Trust. Bob Shearing, Chair, is speaking to item 12, future options, Hornby Library Building. Bob, and you're accompanied, I think that's by someone I know who's hiding behind a mask.
Linda Turner is the
Centre manager.
centre manager.
Lovely. Lovely
Just here to keep him in line.
Very good. You've got to do that with Bob Shearing, former councillor. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councillors, and thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you. I know we're pretty much all on the same page, but I will take this opportunity just to say a few words. I do want to thank Angus Smith and staff here for putting this report together. I've known Angus for a long time, and it's been good to work with him and get a satisfactory outcome. Obviously, we had a bit of a concern about a clause in the report, but I think you've got an amendment coming up that will take care of that, as I understand it. It originally says that we can't have any funding for 5 years from the council, but I think you've got that. So I'm going to assume that you're going to pass that for me, and then we'll go on from there. The community centre, of course, has always been a council come community project. 40 odd years ago, group of people, community got together with the then Paparoa Council and developed the site into what is a very valuable and well-known community facility in the area. the original trust had a position for for representatives from 5 of the local churches, and 4 of them are still members of the trust. So that it's very much a community trust that runs the organisation. Council's also had these days through the community board had an appointee, and I originally got appointed to the trust as a council appointee when I was a community board member back in too long ago, in '97. I've been chairman also too long ago too, since 2000 or thereabouts, and this report coming to table has certainly been long coming. When we put in place the original funding for the Hornby Community Swimming Pool come library back in 2008, I always saw that the library would come free, and a great opportunity for this trust to go ahead. Of course, it was supposed to have been built by 2013, but the wee little earthquake intervened, and I do thank Councillor Chen for continuing with the project to get the money in the budget and keep it there. And of course, we're going to have our new facility next year, middle of next year, and at that stage, hopefully the library will become free, and hopefully you, with the work we're going to do, we'll be able to take over and run our programs out of there. The trust, as I say, is a small group of community-minded people. Everything we do comes out of community spirit. We were one of the first, I guess, before it was even fashionable, to be a social enterprise. And it always had an op shop operating in our part of the building to support our manager, and that still continues today. But room hire is certainly just in huge demand. You've got a list of some of the things that we do at council, at the centre, and photo there shows one of our community day market days out the front, and of course the library's on the other side there. But the centre is absolutely bulging in what we do, and the demand for social services in the centre of Hornby is huge. And I asked Linda to send me through last night a few of the things that are waiting. You may recall, or you may be aware, that government set up Heartland Service Centre in Hornby back in the early 2000s. Unfortunately, due to lack of space in the work and income building, that's had to close last year. And all the folk, all the NGOs that were using that as hot desks and an opportunity to meet the local people, just don't have anywhere to go. They're really pushing Linda for space there, and we're trying to do our best to keep as many of them possible, but it's just impossible. Sport Canterbury, Law Centre, Kingdom Resources, Budget Services, Family Planning, a whole list of people wanting space in Hornby to deliver to their clients in the area. And of course there's others that even our next speaker who's going to speak in our support, the Hornby Residents Association, are keen to set up a permanent room in the new space. Canterbury Malaysian Society, Tongan Youth Trust, all people looking for more space. So the demand is there, so we're looking forward to being able to accommodate them, but it doesn't come without challenges. And as you will have seen in the report, unfortunately, given the fact that the new centre was supposed to be in operations nearly 10 years ago, of course the building has not had any money spent on it, and you've got in your budget there in your report the budget of $300,000. That in itself is a huge challenge to overcome, and so that's going to require a lot of collaboration between all of us, council, local community, other funding agencies, but most of all council. And we have to accept that this is going to continue to be a community centre in Hornby, an important community centre in Hornby, and we need to make sure it happens. We've got this report is very much the start of the process. It's giving this trust, our trust, part owners in the building, the opportunity to be able to prove to you and to the community that we can come up with a system that's going to work. So it's very much the start, but that gives us that opportunity to do that, start doing that work, do some community consultation, see what we're actually going to put in there. Hopefully we can come up with another social enterprise that might make some money to be able to keep the building operating as well. But all that's for the future. This is the first stage, and so we really thank you for just having this in front of you now. We've got 8 months to really get this organised and put in front of you as something that's going to be viable going forward. So I think that's all I need to say. Is, perhaps if there's any questions, we can take them.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Just to be clear, so the Hornby centre, that was it part of the Heartland services?
No.
And that's shut, is it? Or
That was operating out of the work and income building around the corner.
right? And is that now closed? Is what you're saying?
Yes.
And do you know why it's closed? If it's reopening, or is it just
No,
permanently closed?
It's full. It's wound up completely.
They just did not have room. Obviously, with the security arrangement they had there made it difficult for people to go into the place, of course, and with the increase in social services, they just ran out of space to be able to host the Heartland part of that.
Okay. So effectively, the demand's still there.
Absolutely.
There's just a lack of space, which is what this opportunity presents. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Huge demand.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Oh, not sure you can accept those, Matt.
Bribe.
Kura koutou, Mayor and councillors, and thank you for your granting of the Greater Hornby Residents Association to do a deputation today on the future of the Hornby Library building. I address you today as the chairperson of the Greater Hornby Residents Association, but it's through my contact in this role over 5 years that I've truly come to appreciate what an absolute gem in our community and a crucial service the Hornby Community Centre provide. They're incredibly well led by Linda Turner and her group of volunteers. Recently I was appointed as a trustee of the Hornby Community Centre, and I felt immense pride at what the centre has achieved in the past, continues to do and will do well into the future. You may be wondering why I handed out a glow stick to you all. Well, as the Residents Association has its first youth disco coming up this Friday, but it was through the Hornby Community Workers Monthly meeting held every month that the idea of the community disco became a reality. On one side I had a youth worker who runs a disco. On the other side at this monthly meeting I had the police. The guy said, I want to run a disco. The police said, we'll fund it. Bingo, we had a disco within about 2 minutes. The Community Workers Luncheon is just one example of the many ways in which the Community Centre provides the glue to hold the community together, and having different groups and organisations all working in the same positive direction for our community. The Greater Hornby Residents Association hold our weekly Thursday drop-in sessions at the Community Centre, and it is not uncommon for Linda to ring me from the Community Centre to ring me to see if we can change the room that we currently have, as she's under pressure to fit other groups in. Hornby has undergone significant population growth since the earthquakes, and this will only keep increasing as housing intensification hits our Hornby area. The increased population will see the community centre services and programs under more pressure, but also to increase the diversity of the programs we offer to ensure all ethnic groups are catered for. Significant growth is not restricted to population in our area, but also the modernisation of our facilities. Hornby High School, Hornby Primary, South Hornby School have either been rebuilt or refurbished in recent years. The Hornby Centre in Kyle Park is nearing completion, and much thanks to the councillors for keeping on track with that. The Hornby Club has recently been refurbished. The Hornby Hub and Dress Mart have undergone refurbishments as well. The Railway Yard Retail and Hospo Centre is currently being built where the old equestrian hotel used to be. And the Pebble Group this week announced that they have purchased the Brankston buildings to upgrade the Brankston buildings on the Main South Road. So while 300,000 plus is needed to address delayed maintenance on the Hornby Library, we look forward to ongoing support from Council to allow us to secure additional funding from outside of Council to address this much needed maintenance as well. As a trustee, I am determined to see this building become a real gem again and be one of those modern buildings. The grand old lady deserves it. She served us well for 42 years and there is a lot of life left in her yet. She just needs some love. The Hornby Community Centre has been around for 42 years. It has a formula that works, and this is our opportunity to have a community centre that is even bolder, bigger, better and brighter. If you just bear with me for one moment, I will prove to you that Hornby has talent. So as I say, this will allow us to have a bigger, brighter Hornby Community Centre. It will bring everything together in our community, allow us to have everything under one roof. So this proves that Hornby's got talent, that we can do this. We look forward to closing off the circle and having it all done. And we look forward to 17 yeses today.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions for Mark? I don't think so. I think that's you wrapped it up nice. Oh, sorry, Celeste.
Sorry, great presentation. I just wondered where you got the glasses from.
The Warehouse Hornby actually through the our community fund actually funded for the disco. So yeah.
Brilliant.
But once again, and I just want to draw this attention to something I brought up in an earlier presentation on the annual plan. We got some off the ground funding for the disco as well, and it's also allowed the community come behind with the DJ being paid for, with the product. So once again, it's that example of where the council puts that little bit of initial money in, and we can get a lot more done.
Yeah, it's the seed, and then you can grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
No, that's great. Thank you very much. Right. Okay. So that's the conclusion of public participation. There are no presentation of petitions, and I'd like to move the resolution to include the supplementary reports in the meeting. Do I have a seconder for that? Jimmy Chen. Any discussion? Put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. I'll move the council minutes for the two meetings. Do I have a seconder for that? Tim Scandrett. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That is carried. And we move on to Community Board monthly reports.
Mayor, just one thing I've just emailed around just in terms of declarations of interest. I've just got a conflict in an interest in item 13, so I'll just be standing aside from that.
Yeah, it would have been useful to, if you weren't here to raise it at.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just letting.
Raised
I've
it.
emailed it around as well.
But yeah, you can just raise it at the item when we get to it. That's fine. I've asked for advice on the same matter, so I might manage mine by just declaring what it is. So anyway, Community Board monthly reports, and the first is the Waikura Linwood Central Heathcote Community Board, and we have Alexandra Davids beaming in live from wherever she is to the council meeting. So thank you, Alexandra. I'll hand over to you.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you so much for having me with you this morning online. We will start with our first slide. The Waikura Linwood Central, the first slide was the one before. Thank you. The Waikura Linwood Central Heathcote Community and Youth Service Awards were held on the 27th of July. The board send a huge congratulations to our recipients. We acknowledge all our volunteers in Christchurch and the mahi and time they give to their communities. I want to acknowledge the connectedness they foster and also the financial benefits they bring to our city as a whole. So the Waikura board thank you all for your time. It was really fantastic to be able to hold this before the Linwood Central Healthcare Community Board comes to a close. And this event has been impacted by COVID over the past 2 years, so it was great for us actually to all have the opportunity to come together. Yeah, next slide, please. So on to something not so fun. The scene has been familiar to the folk in Bromley for some years, and despite the matter being raised through the council system on a number of occasions, it particularly impacts on the Move X trampoline and ice skating businesses because their service is most required, obviously, when parents want to bring their children to do something indoors when it rains, but they can't get to the building. And this is not just affecting people of Bromley, this is affecting people across the whole city. The board are really coming to speak to this today because we would like some guidance on how to get some traction on the matter. We had assumed, because we hadn't had a recent update, that it was being dealt with, but we'd just love some assurance and yeah, to get some action on that. Next slide, please. A group of local residents came to speak with the board in February about works that were required on Hereford Street in the area shown on the map. So that area is just in between Fitzgerald and Stanmore. They were concerned that the repair that were carried out were not just a patch up of bald slicks on the road. They also have commented on the size of the stones, which the road had been sealed with, which created a lot more noise than the seal of smaller stones. The board asked that the road be sealed properly and not just patched, but unfortunately this has not been what has occurred, and it's causing issues for a lot of the residents in that area, but also obviously people just using the area to travel through. The board would like a proper update and assurance that Hereford Street in the area mentioned does get the work that is required, and that the board are giving notice on the matter at hand so we can actually explain what is happening to our community that is affected. Next slide, please. So our Strengthening Communities funding round, we had a really successful round this year. We didn't have any new multi-funding. We want to say a massive congratulations to all that were successful. We also thank the staff for their work in prioritising the needs of funding in our communities and thank them for aiding our community groups to become more connected where appropriate and needed. And the board wish all the groups well in the new term as they develop relationships with their new community boards. And next slide, please. So we have one part A to council today, and that is the Opawa Children's Library building disposal. The board supports the recommendations. We're keen to have all options made available. These include having not-for-profit, incorporated and community organisations having the same opportunity as commercial operators, which is part of your recommendation today. And the board are also keen for the community to use it in the short term. And that is all from us today.
Very good. Are there any questions for Alexandra? Okay, well, look, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Day.
The next is the Waipapa Papanui Innes Community Board, Emma Norris. Oh, and
Kia ora koutou. Thank
Simon.
you for having Simon and I along here today.
Simon Britton.
We're just going to give you a quick rundown on what's been happening in our area in the last month. So first up, we have a quick rundown on decisions made under delegations at our July meeting. We established our positive youth development and our Summer with Your Neighbours funds for the year. We then used some of that positive youth development fund to assist a talented young canoe polo player to head to 2 tournaments over in Europe with the under-21 women's team. We've also made a recommendation which is before you today as a Part A, report on the gifting of the Mcfarland Park Centre and the granting of ground lease to Shirley Community Trust. This was a straightforward, unanimous decision for our board. As you'll see from the report, the trust is well established, in a good financial position to take on the building, and is doing really important work in this community. And so we hope you'll follow our recommendation for that today.
Reports we received in the previous month are listed on the screen there. Just want to note the first one, Maireho Drain, the timber lining renewal there. It's been discovered in the process of that work a number of trees have needed to be removed that were either currently causing damage or would anticipated to cause damage to the timber lining of the drain in the future. That has required the removal of 21 healthy trees. That has had the support of the board, noting that the council's tree policy will be complied with and there'll be a 2-for-1 replacement of those trees with new ones. We've also made some fine-tuning to Sherbourne Street, the traffic controls around the Cannon Street area, and some other items you can see there. Some of them Emma has spoken to, and one of them is on our next slide.
So we've heard from community groups in our area this year about the toll that the past couple of years and the challenging environment that they're continuing to work in is having on staff and volunteers of these NGOs. So we now have up and running a pilot employee assistance program to support organisations in the Northwest Cluster to support the well-being of their staff. It's great to see this issue being brought to the fore, as these workers and volunteers do so much for a lot of the most vulnerable people in our communities, and they really do give everything they have to their work. We've had discussions with all of our local MPs on this issue, making them aware of the need in this area and the fact that it should be central government stepping up to help.
Some good news with Kohanga, the St Albans Community Centre. It has received an award in the Canterbury Architecture Awards. Thank you. In the public architecture category, I know the Mayor and some councillors were there for the opening of this building, and others will have seen it. If you're looking at it there from the Colombo Street entrance, you probably, like me, are thinking it's a gently folded facade that draws visitors in. That's what was noted in the award. A number of other points were also noted, including the kind of the light-filled gallery through the building, and also that it is a net zero, cradle-to-grave, embodied energy building. So congratulations to everybody that was involved in that project, including community members as well as council staff and the architects and builders.
And then finally, here are some photos from the Northwest Car Rally, which was held recently for high school youth in our area. The event was organised by local youth with support from Papanui Youth Development Trust, Te Orohau and Council. And it saw 80 young people compete in an amazing race type event with fun and competitive challenges throughout the city to earn points. We as a board are proud to be able to support events like this, which empower and engage our young people. And that's it from us, short and sweet.
Excellent. Goose chase, eh? I haven't heard of that before, so there you go, something new. Any questions for the community board? Thank you very much for your presentation this morning. Thank you. And thank you for your work. The next is Waihoro Spraden Cashmere Community Board, Carolyn Potter and Deputy Chair Lee Sampson. Thank you.
Atamarie. I'd just like to say that Papanui's report was incredibly interesting, especially the youth car driving thing. That would be miles better than the rip-roaring around Governor's Bay and over the Dyers Pass Road from some of ours in our area. I'd love to do that. It was just so cool to hear. Thank you. The second thank you we'd like to say is thank you to Angus, who's been working so working so hard on the issue of the Esplanade, the new Esplanade round past the Christchurch South Library. He has worked and worked and worked on this issue. I was surprised to hear him being referred to on another project because I didn't know how he'd have the time. I'd just like to pass that on to Angus. Thank you. There's our Strengthening Communities Fund allocated to 20 organisations, including 8 projects in the year. The Hornby Residents Association requested a soccer goal in Gainsborough Reserve, and they're doing other things in that reserve as well. And the Addington Neighbourhood and the Addington Farm. Once again, we had flooding. Once again, the floodplains proved their worth. We can't say enough about the drainage engineers over the years who and the foresight of the council for the financial expenditure. The one on the right is a photograph taken from Christchurch South Library building. The one on the left, sorry. The one on the right I took, and that's a photograph of the beautiful lake in up Worsley's Road next door to the adventure park, and that pathway I walked along with my dog. It's still there. That would be a place I'd love to buy a house with a lake view periodically throughout the years. But the locals just love that area now, and its plantings, and it's going to be an asset to the city, asset to Christchurch, as are all the other retention ponds.
I'll just, Carolyn's completely right. It's a program that's really, the land drainage recovery program is something that's really paid dividends. We get such positive feedback on a community level. We've also got more in terms of Cashmere, the vineyard to come online as well, so it just gets better. As we move towards a more of a coping mentality, we did get some feedback on a local level just in terms of, I think it was the 20th, 21st, when we probably got caught out a little bit. We had just 40 mils of rainfall, which caught us out. It was a bit of a surprise event. We did get some community feedback whether we could do, I know council can't catch all and we need to not try and do that, but whether we could have got a text out to certain streets that might have flooded. I know, and council are completely right, they've referred it to, the Met Office do a service, but it's quite generic, and it's not on a mesh block or a local street level. So was there an opportunity maybe just to get for a resident to sign up to a text service to know that when they're going to bed, they might wake up to a street that's flooded in the morning? So was there an opportunity there? And we have done nearly all the practical steps, so it's maybe just a communication thing now, and whether we can look at that. So I think some local residents would really appreciate us just taking a little bit of time to see if there was, and that would be the icing on the cake, because we have taken so many practical steps.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The Addington Neighbourhood Association is proposing a blanket 30k speed limit in Addington. The reason I'm raising this is that many people on this council will remember the discussion on a report 5 years ago when we came with a 40-year recommendation from Addington on the advice of staff, and this council stopped the meeting for another 30 minutes to listen to Sprague and Cashmere and discuss the possibility of a 30k limit, which wasn't recommended by staff at the time because of Waka Kotahi's attitude to urban environments. They are now, and the tenor of the discussion from council at that time was, why couldn't Addington have 30? And so I'm referring specifically to that, because here they are back again. They're a wonderful resident association. They work very, very hard on the things that they do. And they are back here with a serious proposal for 30k again. And if there was a suburb in Christchurch that needs 30k, it would be Addington, because of its narrow 19th century, early 20th century streets. Most of it is like that, and we'd like to retain that for them. We'd like to retain it for people who drive through it. We'd like to retain it too, because it was the first cycleway in urban cycleway in Christchurch, and some of the rat runners are still speeding round in areas that are carrying cyclists.
Yeah.
And that's another reason for it. So when it comes, we would very much like to be able to say to Addington, the hard-working members of the Addington community, that we are going to get it done.
I think we've also got the mechanism through CRAF to look at many of these areas and right the way through our communities. So we've got opportunities through CRAF as well. So we look forward to embracing those and looking at many other low-speed initiatives as well. So thank you, Carol.
Yeah. This Christchurch City Council has supported Addington Farm, and it was quite a big amount of money at the time. And Addington Farm continues to thrive and continues to look for other areas on which they can plant food for sale in the local region. It's been an economic success. And also a success in terms of the environment and growing your own food movement. And local shops do sell Addington Farm produce, and they came to us to talk about their next projects, what they're doing in the local area, and also the farmlets and backyards that they're also planting in elsewhere. And finally, the Hoonhay residents in Gainsborough Reserve.
Yeah.
Who are, go ahead, are you going on me? They've come for two things, the residents. One group of residents have come for fruit tree planting, which is going to happen this Sunday. And the other group of residents have come for a soccer net. The current soccer net allows the ball to race onto the road, which means the kids are in danger of chasing after it and dancing with traffic. So one group's come with fruit tree planting at one end of the reserve, and the other group are talking about a soccer net at the other end of the reserve. And I don't know that you could get more active communities than having two groups coming to see us about the same sort of thing for the children and the community in our area. Thank you.
Yes. Very much. Well, you've come to the end of the presentation time, but really appreciate that, and I've made a note of both the text issue, because I know that the council's been looking at that issue, but there is a texting service that's available through Civil Defence, so there might be a potential there for a localised incident alert. But I think that came up during the course of the day, so people didn't wake up to flooded streets. They went to work and came home to flooded cars. So it was and it was a surprise for everyone. So thank you for raising it in the way that you have. And the second issue that I've taken on board was something else, and I can't remember what it was now, but it was the
30K?
The 30K area, because that we are looking at these areas, especially where they are generated from the local community, so not top down but community led initiatives. So, and we're very keen to support those. So thank you very much.
We are grateful. Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you. Te Pātaka o Rākaihoto, Banks Peninsula Community Board, Tori Peden. Thank you. Welcome.
Morena.
Morena.
Right. Okay, the board has had a busy month of July and made some key decisions to progress local initiatives. We approved removal of approximately 91 trees from Unuku closed landfill area to allow for remediation of the landfill area, of the landfill cap, sorry. This was necessary after compliance monitoring identified areas exposed landfill waste within the closed landfill area. Sorry, that's okay. We also approved the Okina Management Plan Advisory Group terms of reference. This group will be acting as an advisory capacity to assist the council to review the existing plan and review the new management plan for the area. We're also excited to approve the landscape plan for the nature playground in Garden of Tane, as you see in the image on the slide. The playground will be a wonderful space for our tamariki to enjoy the natural beauty of the area, with newly integrated play equipment, a po with Tane as well. The board also approved the port-to-port public transport infrastructure improvements along Route 28, which will improve the new bus stops, bus shelters, upgrade line markings and footpaths and increase the frequency of key transport lines for the peninsula into the city. Finally, we nominated Summer with Your Neighbours 2022, Anzac Day Reads and Anzac Day Diamond Harbour Grant as board projects for future funding considerations. Something's not right. I don't know. No, something's on our screen that's not shown up. Okay, I'll carry on anyway. It's regarding the... Here we go. We're going jumping. On the 4th of August, Christchurch NZ hosted a cruise ship hui for a number of agencies in the community board to hear updates on projected ships and passenger numbers, the roles of public health, council traffic management planning, and the role of the Lyttelton Port Company. It was also shared that work on the destination management plan was about to begin. As a top priority for our board, we're keen to be as involved as possible in the scoping of this work to ensure community ownership of the plan and help identify with help with identification of key groups, stakeholders to engage with on the peninsula. Little River Wairua Community Trust, the Wairua Runanga, and our board hosted a community hui just on Sunday in Little River to discuss flooding in the township. So this is just not the recent flooding, this is flooding in the past. Both staff, elected members from councils and ECAN attended, along with representatives from Banks Peninsula Water Zone Committee and the Wairua Little River Ratings District Liaison Committee. There's a long history of flooding in Little River caused by a complex mix of factors, with multiple bodies holding responsibilities for different aspects of the challenges faced. As a result, local residents have found it difficult to know who to approach to address their concerns. The hui enabled community members to share their experiences and local knowledge of where and how the water flows into the centre of the village. Staff were on hand to provide technical information and answer questions. Elected members also explained the process involved in obtaining funding for future mitigation works. There were a number of potential mitigation projects discussed, and agreement was reached on the needs for all relevant parties to come together to explore more details. And the last one is the latest lot of flooding. We've now heard July has been recorded as the wettest on record for Canterbury since record keeping began in 1863. Of course, Banks Peninsula again received a significant amount of rainfall in July over 3 separate events, prompting multiple weather warnings and engagement by the council's emergency management team. During these events, the Banks Peninsula governance team also did some important mahi, contacting individuals across the communities to get a sense of the situation and report back on slips, power outages, stream levels, road closures and general wellbeing. These reports were compiled and sent to Civil Defence Emergency Management to help provide an up-to-date picture of what was happening on the ground. This new level of engagement and support has been well received by CDEM and much appreciated by our community members. As we continue to see the impacts of climate change at increasing frequencies, we believe this collaboration with CDEM will continue to benefit our communities through improving response and action planning. And that is basically what's been happening in the last few weeks on the peninsula.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? James, Cox?
Quick one, thanks for that. Just with the nature playground, the Garden Tane, looks fantastic. But is it a new playground for it, or does it replace the existing one that's there?
No, the existing one is staying there. This is a different corner of the Garden Tane.
Oh,
this has been on management, so it's from what I understand, it's closer to the hub, the health hub, further down a little bit further from the existing playground.
Oh, okay.
But it also acknowledges the PO that's going in, so it's all work around that.
My kids will be looking forward to it.
Yes, I bet they will be. I think mine are too.
Yeah, we've come to the end of time, but I've got that Phil Major pleading look in his eyes for another.
Thank you very much. Just are you aware of? I know the peninsula's had a hammering with rain. Are you aware of the problems in Little Akaloa with the drain
access ways and
the drain moving into private property with that sort of a river come creek down on the left hand side as you go down to the sea?
I don't know that personally, but I know staff are aware of multiple issues in the area.
Okay.
I mean, they had issues in O'Kane's Bay as well. Yeah,
Thank you.
slips. You heard about the bus driver that backed up 5 kilometres with kids on board the bus. So, like I say, these things are impacting all of us. So, yeah.
And it's going to get worse. You know,
It
the
is, and
severity
that's what
and
we
frequency of storm events. You know, we heard a presentation this morning on climate change. You know, it is real, and the impacts are real, and we're feeling them now. So
it's happening. You know, this is the second. You know, we had a big one in December. We're still trying to remediate issues from that.
Correct.
And then again in July, being hammered again and again.
Well, as I recall, in 2014, 3
Massive
virtually
events.
1 in 100 year events in a row, people stopped believing that they were 1 in 100 year events, and the truth is that they no longer are.
No,
they used to
they're
be,
more
but they're
frequently and more devastating.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your presentation this morning.
Thank you.
The next is Waitai Coastal Burwood Community Board Chairperson Kelly Barber. And Chris Turner Bullock as well. Thank you.
Good question. Good morning, Leanne. Good morning, councillors. I'm joined again today by the long-suffering governance manager for our board, Christopher Turner. So we'll move right along to decisions made under delegation. So I'm happy to report that this month's report is all about action. So this, as you've already seen this morning, we had a petition from a group in Brooklands and Spencerville. And Community Board was really pleased to hear from them recently, from Amanda and the team. It's really good to see the wider community out there collaborating and putting this together. It's probably the first time that they've all managed to get together and present a petition. So 169 signed this, and as Amanda mentioned, 98.5% of the Brooklands and Spencerville residents were canvassed, and they're asking for a stop bank around the Brooklands Lagoon. Obviously, we received this on our 13th of June meeting, and this has been referred to staff for investigation. It's a somewhat complex issue. There will be a number of different, agencies involved in looking at it, and I don't imagine it will happen quickly, but it's topical with all the recent rain events that we've had throughout our 2 wards. We've had issues with surface flooding, particularly in the traditional older areas. In the newer areas like Preston's, the retention ponds have performed extremely well. So, flooding is obviously an issue all over the city, especially in times of great weather events like we've had recently. So moving on, what you'll see up there is a series of before and after photos. Instead of a usual Tuesday morning meeting that a group of residents in Brooklands had, they decided to actually get out and take action. So it's great to see, again, the community working together to improve their local environment. And nothing is more satisfying than actually tidying up a neglected area. So this group got together and tidied up some of the vegetation around some of their pathways in the local area. They finished with hot soup and muffins, I'm told, and had a discussion about what their next course of action would be. There's nothing more satisfying than actually and cleaning up your own area and taking pride in it. So kudos to the Brooklands group that got stuck in and did that work. So the next bit of action, so Eco Action Nursery Trust and National Volunteer Week had celebrations. So at the first one is the Eco Action Nursery Trust tree planting day. They had 150 volunteers on Sunday the 19th of June, 2,500 trees along the plants and trees along the QE2 Adventure Trail. The interesting thing about this is the plants were grown by 20 local schools, Canterbury schools, and I think kind of action beats angst. So they grew these trees, and some of our local schools, Takura, Tawhito, Rafidi Primary, Shirley Boys, and Avonhead Girls High School from the ward were involved in this. One of the things that bothers me about the constant negative information that comes out about climate change is the mental health of our young people. And I always think these things where they can take action and participate in actually doing something positive will really help them. And so it's great to see that the schools in the area are taking this on. So the second one is the National Volunteer Week celebration, which was, they worked in the Darlington Red Zone. So it was a celebration of volunteers, again, native tree planting, information stalls, live music, and a chance to say thank you to the volunteers. I just want to also give a shout out to the Guardians of Rafiti, who have secured 20,000 daffodil bulbs to plant in the domain. So it will be the Hagley Park of the East with a whole lot of beautiful daffodils, hopefully in spring. So last but not least, we'll move on to the local Matariki events. We had a number of them in the wards, particularly in the Coastal Ward, where the Bridge Hub held a Matariki Community Gala. The Bridge Hub, if you remember, is a new community facility designed by the and put together by the local community to facilitate events for the local community. They've gone from strength to strength. They're constantly busy, constantly active, doing lots of things, and ran a Matariki Gala. Also, another very active group in our community is the South Shore Residents Association. They met at Plover Street on the evening of Matariki, and some of the pictures, we're just going to show you a short video, aren't we, Chris, of the event, and you'll note the scenery and how fantastic it looks. And the high quality sound. It will be the pirate band, I think.
I'm going to start with a karakia and then a short kōrero about Matariki, and then we can kick off the event.
You don't really need a commentator, do we? The ho 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 covers it all.
Do what you please. Pick up your shoes. What do you need? Come on, shake it. Let's shake it. Don't fake it. Don't fake it. Jigging and the ringing and the gonna have to dance tonight. Ho, ho, ho.
Anyway, so there we go. If you've got any questions,
very nice. Well, you know, you're over time, but since I've allowed the pleading look, I shall take Sarah Templeton.
Kia ora, thanks, Kelly. Hey, I'm just wondering with the petition and what the board's asked for there. It seems to me that this is one of those circumstances where the issues are going to be exacerbated over time with climate change, and whether using the coastal adaptation framework through that coastal planning process with a coastal panel actually involving the community members rather than getting staff to do some sort of options report and stuff might be a better way forward. It was designed for precisely this kind of thing.
Yeah, potentially.
I mean, because, you know, they are one of the communities who are in one of those coastal adaptation areas, and using that framework means that you get a lot more resources and community engagement in the short, medium and long-term planning for that community. And it seems like that might be a really good way forward.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there.
Yeah. And so just whether that can be...
ECAN's on that.
Well, there are ECAN representatives on the Coastal Hazards Working Group, but there are a variety of community, expert, council and
Yeah.
potentially can experts on the coastal panels.
Bringing them as the experts to the table might be.
Yeah, and the
quite
stag and stuff like, and the technical
Yeah.
technical group and things as well.
But we'll
So I
deal
think
with
that
that
we-
when we
where
get to
the-
the item on the agenda.
where the staff can be working out appropriateness. I mean, there is the work that's happening in Whakaropo as the first sort of test case for the test community.
I think-
But if we had the resourcing to be able to sort of do that area as well.
Yeah.
I think we're expecting to see that come back as part of the advice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks.
I would expect to see it as part of the advice
Yeah.
as well. Look, thank you very much for your presentation this morning, and much appreciated.
Thank you.
Right.
Hang in there, Chris.
And if we could move to the Waimiro Fendleton Waimari Harewood Community Board, Bridget Williams. Kia ora and welcome. You don't even look like Marianne Lomax.
Tēnā koutou katoa. No, I'm very lucky to have Matt with me today to help me present with what we've been up to for the past month.
Yep.
So, first of all, decisions made under delegation. So, the first was we approved the relocation of a bus stop. There was also granting the new deed of lease to the High Performance Sport NZ for the Apollo Centre at Jelly Park. And then there were also 2 Youth Development Fund applications. And speaking of young people doing incredible things, we would also like to acknowledge 2 of our previous Youth Development Fund recipients who have just finished completing at the Commonwealth Games, and that was Taylor Bruce from the Burnside Bowling Club. Her lawn bowls team received a bronze medal at the Games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the current patron of the Burnside Bowling Club, and so I know Taylor, and that's absolutely thrilling. They'll be thrilled.
That's great. Yeah, it's very exciting. And then there's also Hayley Mackey from Casebrook who competed in judo as well. Moving on to progress on community board plan priorities. So you'll see a few ticks up there. As the end of the term is nearing, it is a good time to look back and reflect on what we have achieved over the past 3 years. So as you all know, each board developed a community board plan at the beginning of the term, which included engaging with our communities to identify priority projects or issues they wanted to see addressed. And as a board, we are thrilled that we have achieved 7 out of the 9 priorities. Of the remaining 2, 1 is ongoing and will continue to be monitored, and the other one is a project that still might happen further down the track. And I'd just like to acknowledge and thank the council staff for helping us to achieve these priorities. The board could not have done any of this without the help of our transport unit, parks unit, Three Waters unit, and of course our fantastic local community governance team. And then moving on to the next slide, as the final part of our Avonhead Russley Community Safety Initiative, we held a safety expo on Sunday at the Russley School. Unfortunately, the weather turned just as the event was beginning, which resulted in gazebos taking flight and a number of the outdoor activities being unable to take place. However, in the school hall, there were a number of information stalls, including the groups listed on the screen there. And a highlight of the event was the Q&A panel, which stimulated some great discussion. So questions from the public included things such as the best way to support issues. It was a great opportunity for us to promote Snap, Send, Solve, which the majority of attendees weren't aware of. The installation of security cameras on your property, and what are the privacy laws around this? And also, what are the benefits of being part of a neighbourhood support group? So there was a common theme coming through from all the panel members, and that was the importance of being part of your community and getting to know your neighbours so you can be the eyes and ears for each other. And we want to say a huge thank you to Karen and Natalie from our local Fendleton team and to all of the partner agencies that worked with us on this fantastic initiative. So that is our report, and happy to take any questions.
Great. Any questions? Annie?
Yeah, thank you. It won't probably come as any surprise, but I was just interested in the Tall Tree Avenue tree replacement, given that this was an issue that was raised as part of the tree policy hearing, probably 2 years ago. So I just wanted to check, because I know initially you were supposed to get advice on the cost for this year's annual plan. So the previous board minutes had reference to getting the advice on the cost, and I see now you're suggesting that we do it for next year's draft annual plan. So are you able just to give us some indication of if you've had the advice on the cost and what that is?
Yeah, well, like I see Sam looking at me. Yeah, you go for it, Sam.
It's unfortunate Marianne can't be here today because she's been right across it all.
Right.
We've had to do it. So there's two issues, as you know, and you would have picked up through the tree policy. The way that Orion have laid stuff now, we can't literally put them back into the boom. So we've asked for the build outs. We've got pricing on that, but the view was we've heard from a couple of residents along the street, which is really good. We needed to go and consult the street. So Marianne, instead of using the comms team, created a consultation to speed it up, has gone out and done that. The view is that we obviously don't have budget now for it, but we would bring it through in the next annual plan if that was the will of the street. So we've kind of made it as simple as we can. But had it been a $10,000 fix, we would have been able to do it. The price was not $10,000. So, yeah.
Thank you. You stepped in nicely there. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Are you okay, Yanni? You don't sound very well.
Fine. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, it just sounded
Just the mask. Yeah.
slightly fluey. All right. Look, thank you very much for your presentation this morning. Much appreciated.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next is Waipuna, Horswell, Hornby, Riccarton Community Board, Mike Mora.
Kia ora, good morning, Leanne and councillors. Thanks for the opportunity to present our exciting report to you today. We will start with Matthew, the decisions made under the delegations, and really Ruapuna Park. I haven't got that Ruapuna Park Canterbury Car Club request, so that was for asphalting an area of land at Ruapuna Park for slower motorsport. It's sort of motor car stuff, so it's nothing new, but it's just making it in a sealed area a bit more, yeah. So that's in proposed road names 26 Glovers Road. That was no problems. And confirmation of we had the CRAF funding program, and with a joint meeting with our neighbouring Fennelton Waimari Headwood Community Board. So that was, and we got some good outcomes from that. And we did have the site visit to our Hornby Centre site visit, and it's really, and we were hosted by the developers there, by the contractors at least, and that was really good. They spoke to us all about what's going on and what stage they were at. And the piling stopped now, so that's all done, and we're just really, and everything's done. It's just a matter of now expecting to see the fleet of concrete trucks pouring in there. So that's really exciting. So I'm looking forward to going for a swim in there. What have we got next here, Matthew? Oh, the Eastman, yes, Eastman Drainage Reserve. So that's a really exciting thing, and it's named after a City Council staff member back in the day, for those of us who can remember. And it's a huge area, the size bigger than Hagley Park, and it's going to have 100,000 native trees in it. So not only is it an excellent stormwater detention draining system, but it's going to be very exciting in years to come when it's seen to be doing its job, and with 100,000 new trees in that area is quite exciting. So we're looking, thanks for the progress on that one. And the Greater Hornby Residents Association put on a very good event. It was one of the first off the block, really. It was the Matariki Fun Day. And if it wasn't for the Greater Hornby Residents Association, it wouldn't have happened. So we just really like to thank them. And as you can see by the by the Kapahaka group up there in the top of the screen. It was just amazing. The multicultural makeup of that Kapahaka group was absolutely outstanding. All the different cultures taking part in that was quite moving. And I didn't take part in the sack race, but it was really good, cheap, very, very cheap, virtually cost-free day. So we thank the Residents Association for that and everybody that took part in it. Oh, thank you. Are there any questions? I thought there was more to it than that, Matthew. Oh, because I've got a different, because we've got to keep Christchurch beautiful.
That's your area report. You have left.
That's our area report. Yeah, okay.
You have left a time for questions.
Oh, well, I'm pleased about that. So bring them on.
Excellent. Bring them on. Anyone's got a question for Mike?
Jimmy.
Jimmy Chen.
You know, particular concern, the moment the Hornby police station, no officer there, you know, whether community board consider invite, you know, those officers, to the community board meeting.
Well, that's something that we're working on, Jimmy, because we're working on a community safety meeting, aren't we? And that will be one of the things. But I'd probably like to go and man that office when I retire from being an elected member, so I can go and open the office for you so that people can come in and out of there on a daily basis. And we'll work on that, will we? Just an idea. Thanks, Jimmy, for raising it.
Okay. Look, thank you very much for your presentation this morning. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's all right. And would someone like to move that we accept the reports? Jimmy Chen, seconded by Mike Davidson.
Only thing I just wondered, we did acknowledge Taylor Bruce and the Burnside Bowling Club, whether we could formally put that into the
resolution.
Well, just given it was
so
the games.
Can we add a resolution to acknowledge the two? Do you want us to send a letter of congratulations?
Yeah,
one for participating, the other for the bronze medal.
That would be great.
Because I think both should be congratulated.
Definitely.
It takes a lot to get to that level. So
completely.
And acknowledging the prior support that has come from the local community board.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and we'll copy that to you as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, to the community board.
Yep,
yeah.
fantastic.
Cool.
Thank you.
You.
That's great.
To the Commonwealth 2002, the Commonwealth Games 2002 participants who have been previously supported by the Waimero, Waimairi, Fendleton Waimairi Hereford Community Board. And I'll find the appropriate words for the letter. Yeah. Cool. You can add in the name of the word the name of the board afterwards. I think everyone's got the gist. All right. So on that note, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you very much. Look, I know that there are people still here, so I would like to deal with the Brooklands Lagoon petition, and then we'll break for morning tea. So could we move to the Brooklands? Oh, where is it? I've got it. Item 11. Sorry. No, it's not the next one. Why is it the next one? It's item 11, page 1. Oh, it's because it's part A. Yeah. So, so item 11. Yeah, I'm just scrolling. Right, I've got it in front of me now. So, this is not a usual process whereby a petition that's been presented to the community board is presented to the council prior to the community board having received the report that it's requests. But I think that councillors generally wanted to show support for the process, and it might even be worth noting that the board has requested advice on this matter and once received, requests that the board reports to the council. We don't need to note it, but I think we'll just say that both the coastal adaptation framework is appropriate to be included in that advice, as is advice from ECAN. Because, I mean, I must admit that when I was the MP for the area and the earthquakes happened, I didn't know who was responsible for which stop banks. So it was only after the earthquakes that I found out that ECAN was responsible for the Waimakariri stop banks and that Christchurch City Council was responsible for the Lower Styx River. And the reason was that the urban waterways were transferred in terms of responsibility to the Christchurch City Council rather than to the newly formed regional councils in 1989 during the last local government reform process as a result of the Christchurch Drainage Board being subsumed into the amalgamated Christchurch City Council. So it's got a whole history to it, but it's an estuarine, riverine environment which makes it pretty unique. So I think it's well worth supporting the community board. Pauline.
Yeah, thanks, Leah. Look, I'm just wondering if we need to be a good idea to strengthen that resolution and turn it, perhaps request a report, because I think, as you've just outlined, it's so massive, and I don't like to put extra work onto staff, but we've also got the Brooklands Lagoon management plan out there, and all the other things you've outlined. And then I think it was the Little River had a flooding hui. It's up to the board, but I'd say that once that report is received, it would be quite good to have a hui out there and get everyone involved in the information.
I think that's important, but I don't think cutting out the community board is the way to do that. I honestly think that. So
what would advice look like?
I'm not writing the advice.
No, but is it? I mean, we talk about advice memos, reports.
We have asked the community board to report to us. This is what this does. It requests that the board reports to the council. So let them receive the advice and then let them reflect on that advice and then report to the council.
Okay, if you're happy with that, that's all right.
Okay. So would you like to move this?
Be happy to move that.
Would you like to second it?
And did you want to put a noting report thing about the coastal adaptation work? Or?
That'll come through.
It'll come through in the advice. Yeah. Yes?
So I'm clear, and I understand that ECAN look after the Waimak River Bank ones. This isn't part of the Waimak, is it? So that means it's ours? The ones on the...
Urban waterways are ours. The regional rivers are theirs. So
estuary is sort of in the middle.
When we heard the petition, we heard reference to continuing the primary and the secondary stop banks. We don't do the primary and secondary stop banks on the Waimakariri River, but I don't know what because that's essentially where the Styx joins the
there must be a line of where we stop and they start, and I'm not quite sure.
Well, there is, but there's also an entire settlement tucked in Stewart's Gully and Kaingas that would sit between the primary and secondary banks. So I think that we've got to leave it to the experts to provide some advice, that the community board gets the advice and then formulates a report to the council. And that way it triggers the series of processes that will have to happen in order to resolve this. This was an area that was largely red zoned by the government, and it is an area that has got a number of not only present day challenges, but it has a number of future challenges, which is why the coastal adaptation framework is so important.
Yeah, because I understand that Seafield Park that's there is actually a scenic reserve, which makes it even harder to do things on.
Yeah, so there'll be a number of different categories of land that will have to be taken into account as well.
Just to follow up for Councillor Major and members, I will be expecting staff to be having dialogue with ECAN, so it won't be just saying this matter is ECAN's responsibility.
Yeah.
I will be expecting a conversation between both authorities to be able to come to some advice and conclusions together.
And I think the councillors were able to attend the Christchurch City Council ECAN governance to governance group meeting were able to raise it and table it with them as well. So that they are aware of it and they will be expecting this to happen. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Now, I'll stop for morning tea. It is 11:05. I would like to see you back here at 11:15, and that's a 10-minute break. But I'm going to be flexible and let you be back by 11:20. But I'm going to expect you all to be working very hard when you get back. I adjourn the meeting. ready to get the meeting back underway. Thank you all. Calmly now. If we could have quiet in the back as well, we can get underway. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item on the agenda is item 8, Opawa Children's Library building disposal, with a recommendation from the Waikura Linwood Central Heathcote Community Board to the council today. And so take the paper as read. Are there any questions for staff on this one? Aaron.
Yeah, I had 2 questions. One is, has this flooded up to the floor level before?
No, can you?
No, but certainly in the last couple of weeks it was pretty close. It's a lot worse the last couple of weeks, I would have said. But not
Yeah,
the floor,
so
not the floor level.
is the floor level of this building the same as the houses across the street on the same side?
I'm not sure.
It looks, on Google Images, it looks like it is, but you can't tell without a laser level.
But the floodplain area goes beyond that area, behind the building itself.
Yes, it does.
High flood zone area.
Yeah, on the drawing there. Now the 6.10, the removal of the building will reduce council's carbon footprint. How does that happen? Because if it stayed in situ and had a use there, that's a lower carbon footprint than moving it and resetting it up. So I didn't understand that.
Well, you'd just be returning it to natural state. So I would have thought that would have been.
Sorry, what?
You'd just be returning it to its
The
natural
alternative
state.
is demolishing, not leaving it there. There's
So we wouldn't be leaving it there. Sorry.
The leaving there is not.
It's not an
It's only for short to medium term use of the building on site.
Yeah, and so why is that not considered a use? Because it's already there, it already works. It's got heritage value. It'd make a great dance studio, a small business.
For a
cafe.
short to medium term use.
Yeah.
That's one of the options that.
On site, I thought it was relocated.
No, we're approving an expression of interest process. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll take you through the resolutions. A, from private operators to purchase and remove the building, for a not-for-profit organisation to remove and relocate the building, or for a short to medium term use of the building on site at no cost to the council.
Right, so which one is the leave there, sorry? The
That
first
all-
one says from
we're
private
approving
operators
an
to purchase
expression of
and
interest
remove.
process that enables. Is there any interest in any one of the 3?
Right, okay, cool. Yeah.
You're happy to move, Phil? Thank you. Sarah's happy to second. Is there any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mcfarland Park Centre, gifted building and granting of ground lease to Shirley Community Trust. Same people.
Happy to
Happy to
move.
move. Happy to second.
Pauline is happy to move, and
Phil.
Mike. The community board. I'm happy to second. Are there any questions for staff? Is there any discussion on this one? Pauline.
Yeah. Look, this is, I'll just draw your attention to the picture on page. Draw your attention to the picture on page 136, which shows, it actually clearly shows us what a beautiful activated hub this is becoming for the area, and it's also got a basketball court right next to it. So it shows us how much is happening in the park right now, because it feels safer, because it is a hub. And according to Graham, there's a lot of just impromptu leagues games happening during the week as well that are non-organised until people turn up, and then they just get into teams and go for it. And that's just wonderful to see. So look, this is such a fabulous building too. It's so light and airy and accessible with this beautiful ramp. But it shows us what huge value and benefit a physical building is for community organisations like the Shirley Trust. They've gone from strength to strength and leaps and bounds since the arrival of this building. And look, really thanks to the Lions Club International. They are deserving of our recognition and gratitude for this building. It was originally in St Albans, And then the Lions identified the Shirley Trust as the best suited organisation to receive it once it was no longer required in St Albans. The ability and willingness of the Lions International to make this offer post-quake has enabled 2 community organisations to provide for their people in challenging times of need, such as we saw after the earthquakes. And what the Lions have done for both St Albans and now Shirley cannot be overstated. I'd like to express my huge gratitude for that. And I also want to recognise and congratulate the Shirley Trust for the tremendous work and benefits they are providing for Shirley through their wonderful programs now so brilliantly enhanced by having this building. It's just fantastic to see more and more community facilities being run by and for the communities that they serve so well. This is an excellent example of a collaborative approach to success. And I also want to recognise the support and work of our council staff, Paul McKeefrey, our board engagement team, our property team, to enable this to happen so smoothly and easily. It's been brilliant. So I'll be supporting this today loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yanni?
Yeah, thank you. Just wanted to just wondered with the mover and the seconder whether you wanted a formal resolution to thank the Lions, but just wanted to endorse the comments that have been made by the councillor Cotter, and I totally support this. I just wondered whether an additional resolution just acknowledging
I think that's
the Lions.
nice. Yeah,
Cool.
thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you. I agree myself that should be an important acknowledgement. Thank you. Acknowledges and thanks. Is it Lions International? Lions Clubs International Foundation for their support. Clubs Foundation for their support. And put a plural on club. Make it clubs. Excellent. So I will put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's cancelled. Cancelled? That's scary. I don't know why I did that. Anyway, I apologise. I withdraw and apologise. It's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, the next one is the new deed of lease, High Performance Sport New Zealand, Apollo Centre, Jelly Park. Are there any questions for staff? Do I have a mover and a seconder, preferably from that ward? Phil Major, Sam McDonald, thank you, and seconded by Phil Major. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you. And now we move to the future options, Hornby Library Building, 2/8 Goulding Ave. Yes, you had lots of praise heaped upon you this morning.
Oh, thank you. That's appreciated.
Did you not hear that?
Some bits, but I wasn't here for all of it.
It was. We heard lots of. Well, I think I'll let you move anyway. So, but I'll come back to questions. So, do I have a seconder for this one, Yanni Johansson?
Can I just draw attention?
Yes,
though?
no, I'm going to come to that in
good.
a minute. But Jimmy Chen's got a question. No one's got a question. Right. So, would you like to just touch on the two recommendations that have just been slightly altered?
So we have altered the recommendation slightly, just to remove the references around that the trust wouldn't be eligible for council funding. That is primarily to make sure that it's clear that that doesn't relate to operational funding, and to retain some flexibility if there is need for capital and maintenance funding. It doesn't create any obligation for council. It just provides some wider discretion for council to consider in the future. So hopefully that will be accepted to the mover and seconder.
Yeah.
But can I just also point out that you've seen today several reports that are reflecting a way of work that we're trying to do with the community that reflects a real partnering approach and trying to empower the community by transferring assets through to them to control, that recognises and acknowledges the good work that those community groups are doing and the services they're providing to the community, while also allowing council to really target its resources. So I think you're seeing that as a trend, and we appreciate your support in it, and it's something that we would hope to continue with the new council into the new triennium.
Thank you. All right, is there any debate? I mean, I'm happy to kick it off. I'll come back, I'll let you close it off, Jimmy. This is a really interesting paper because it does pick up on the point that Bruce just made about the essential nature of empowering communities and working in partnership with them. So it's a very good example of where we can do this. Now you'll see from the document itself that there is a significant alternative use in terms of residential development that could be developed here, and therefore the land value has some value. But because it's co-located with the community centre and with sort of half and half, as it were, with the former, with this wider centre, this makes really good sense. So I think it's really important not to have a kind of one-size-fits-all approach, but to have a very community-oriented approach. So I really wanted to congratulate staff for bringing this proposal in the form that it is to the council. Council's interests are fully protected by the right of first refusal that sits with the transfer. So there's no one else they can transfer it to without coming back to the council first. And so we're not closing off options, we're actually opening up options, but supporting the community in so doing. So thank you very much for all your hard work. It's very much appreciated. Jimmy Chen.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, yes. First, I would like to take this opportunity to appreciate the staff. You take a long time, to have a kind of a conversation with the Hornby Community Care Trust and also the in Hornby community, and also present this comprehensive report to the council. Second is we heard from the Hornby Community Care Trust, the president, and also we heard from the president of Great Hornby, the Resident Association, key issues. First one, this facility actually, is a partnership for many years, more than 40 years, and they have done a great job for the benefit to the Hornby community, and also totally compliant with our strategy, our 4B, social, culture, economic, even the environment, etc. They actually is very the crucial, and also based on the president mentioned, this partnership need to be continue to be maintained, and also this council the policy. Second one, based on Great Hornby Resident Association, the presentation you can see through this the facility. One aspect to bring all those the Hornby community together continually. The other one is quite for the emerging more the greater need for the now and also for the future. So this is fantastic. So based on this key point, I urge our mayor and my fellow councillors unanimous to support this one. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That sounded unanimous to me. Thank you very much. The Community Organisation Loan Scheme Union and Community Health Centre Incorporated, Piki Ora. This is the one that Yanni signalled a conflict on, and are you going to sit aside from this decision? I'll name mine, which was that my husband was an initial trustee of the Union and Community Health Centre as it was at the time, Piki Te Ora as it is now. But I feel that conflict potential perception is managed by the distance and time, and because it's been many years ago, but also the fact that I've told you that that is the case, and I've got an open mind to this particular matter. So, do we have any questions for staff on this one? Do we have a mover for this one? Sorry,
I'm happy to move it.
Andrew Turner and Mike Davidson. Is there any debate? Well, I'm just going to say a couple of words because, I've already said what the interest is, but this is a community centre, that a health centre that has been designed around providing access to health at an affordable price. These are few and far between. There are other parts of our city that would benefit from something like this. The opportunity to stop paying rent and owning their own future is very much what this council stands for. So making this a loan with a first registered mortgage over the property, I think is the win-win that we look for. So there's no interest for the first 12 months, is it? Yeah, and then the balance of the loan settled over the remaining 9 years. So it's a very good result, and I'm absolutely thrilled that staff have worked so closely with the centre to get the result. I should note the chair, who is sitting in the back of the room there, former councillor, deputy mayor, I think at one point, Nairi Button. So thank you very much for your advocacy as the chair of the centre as well. So I would like to then put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. It's carried. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well done, John.
And next we have the Te Kaha Project Delivery Limited Governance Performance Report for quarters 3 and 4. And I'd like to invite David Kennedy to come to the table. And we've got Linda Gibb from the Resources Group with us as well. Happy to move. Sam McDonald, seconded. Aaron Kewen. Any questions? Yanni?
Yeah, thank you. So thanks. I did put some questions through yesterday. So, but just appreciate that you've given a preliminary response. But normally when we get the annual reports for a number of the council companies, we'd get individual directors and how much remuneration has been paid to each one. Are we able to get a sense of that? You've just given me a sort of generic response.
This is not the annual report.
No, I know. But when the annual report comes, is that when it's going to be provided? We'll get the details.
When the annual report's provided, yes.
Okay. And the other question I had was just in regards to the agreement to meet with some Pacific leaders around what was happening in regards to the issues that they had raised. Is there any update on what's been agreed and what the outcomes are?
Yes,
Cool.
there is.
Thank you.
Following their representation at the council meeting when the council was considering the project last month, the chairman of Te Kaha Project Delivery Limited, the chief executive of Venues Otatahi, and Nigel Cox and one of the other staff members from within the council have met with the Pacifica community and have gained an understanding of their history with and attachment to the site from their association there with their church, so we are working with them to see how we can recognise that history and the importance of the site to the Pacifica community. And there's another meeting planned or scheduled with them in a couple of weeks as to how we will go about doing that. And so there's two components to, I think, the relationship. One will be a recognition somehow, probably within the public realm outside the building. And then the other will be an ongoing relationship with Venues Otatahi as to how they can interact with the building going forward.
Thank you.
That's a hugely positive outcome. Thank you. Aaron Keown.
Yeah, so just further to that, because I had the same question, I thought Yanni may ask it, was around that site, given that none of the actual building itself sits on that former site on Cashel Street, Madras Corner, it would, and working within that conversation, would they be able to put forward designs of what the landscape there may look like to be like almost the official Pacific corner of the stadium, like the Pacific Gateway?
Yeah, we're going to engage them as sort of almost like a consultant to help us with what they think would be appropriate there. So that hasn't been done yet, but that's the intention and that's the conversation we're having with them to see how we can do that.
Yeah, so under the next lot of shareholder relationships and stakeholders, that will come into the report. I'm picking up updates on that.
Yeah, and we're doing the same thing with Ngātua Herere as well.
Yeah, I saw that in here, which is great. So yeah, be looking forward to how that may turn out. Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amendments to delegations. Happy to move Sam McDonald, seconded James Goff. Any questions? Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That is carried. And I've declared a conflict for the Performing Arts Precinct paper on item 23. And so the resolution now is that the public be excluded for the remaining items on the agenda, with the exception of Claire Evans of Christchurch City Holdings remaining for the item 18, and Ross Gumbley and Barbara George of the Court Theatre remain after the public have been excluded for item 23 of the agenda. And then the reasons for the public excluded are all set out on the agenda. So I'll move that, seconded by Andrew, and debate, is it?
Sorry, I just wondered if you could just put 23 and 24 separate, or just record me against those. I'm happy to support the others.
There isn't a 24.
Oh, the supplementary. Sorry, is it 25, is it?
25.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
23 and 25. Okay, so we'll just put a note that, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No for 23 and 25 for Yanni Johansson. Yep. Thank you. Thanks.